Welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to explore the Scorpio new moon, which occurs worldwide on the 1st of November at 9 degrees and 35 minutes. This is likely to be one of the most supercharged Scorpio new moons ever. Sound rather dramatic? Well, let's think about it. The moon in Scorpio is in her fall, so she's quite tender. She's also in the first decan. The sign of Scorpio traditionally is ruled by Mars. Mars in Scorpio can be about assertion, but it's certainly about desire. But the force of Mars in Scorpio tends to want to come up against some kind of obstacle or challenge, which it can then transmute itself into some deeper being. So it's very powerful at the best of times. But the fact the moon is located in the first decan, which is sub-ruled by Mars, the brusqueness of the Mars applies to the tenderness of the moon, already in not its greatest transition. So I feel that the emotion of this event can be overpowered by the more desire and thrusting energies of Mars. But also, the two rulers of the sign of Scorpio, Mars and Pluto, the higher octave modern ruler, are in a direct clash going between the signs of Capricorn, Pluto, and Cancer for Mars. And that's going to peak on the 3rd of November. But there's more. Mercury, the planet of communication, but also precision, is in Scorpio and in an opposition with the electric but also disruptive energies of Uranus. This is very, very potent stuff. I'm going to take you through all of this. I'm going to share with you which zodiac signs can benefit from this event, which may find it more challenging. But also, I'm going to share the event chart. The North Node, the point of destiny in Aries, is in an obtuse angle to the combination of the Sun and the Moon. It's a 150 Quincunx, and that's tricky because the sign of Scorpio is where we're most invested or most devotional or most committed. Now, it can be emotionally, it can be in terms of romance, but it can also be in terms of money and long-term finances. But that North Node, that point of destiny in Aries since the middle of July 23, has been pushing us to showcase our individuality. And they're not collaborating well on this event. So that's the third layer of potential complexity. But I'm going to share the event charts from a solar perspective that we can all collectively relate to, but also from a natal perspective, which intriguingly puts the Sun and the Moon in the 9th house, very much to do with higher knowledge. The sign of Scorpio can be very much to do with keeping our celestial cards close to our chest. Yes, it can be about secrecy. What is about to be revealed. The 9th house can be about publishing, but it's also about legalities. That's another slice of drama. But then layered on top of all of that, we have a grand water trine, but also a mystic rectangle. I'm going to share with you what they're about too, so please stay with me for that. Then I'll go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect over the next month in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my channel, please help it grow. Sub and click the bell notification symbol. If you're a returning visitor, I really appreciate all your views and interactions. Now, my year 2025 Zodiac forecasts are launched. Please click below and you can watch yours for free. But if you want to know the serious astrology for you, the individual, if you order your 25 forecast now, share with me your personal birth data. I'll produce that, but also give you the rest of this year 3. But also you'll get your life roadmap report. This will give you searing insights into the patterns that have played out in your life so far and a much more intimate understanding of how to work with your nativity future forwards. The overall information all this provides is fantastic value, please see the link below to order, and there's 30% off too. Finally, if you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, I'm a consultant astrologer. Please check out my testimonials below. These are not edited. I share them as is. So this event on the 1st of November 2024 at 9 degrees and 35, I'm showing on the screen now the exact timings for all the major cities of the world. Now, if you have active planetary influences or points between 6 and 12 degrees, so that's working around the exact 9 degrees, in Taurus, Leo or Aquarius, those are fixed energies, so they forge more challenging angles back to this event, an opposition and two squares. However, if you're a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio itself or Pisces, this can be a super event because water is about the more spiritual dimension, but it's also about our senses. It's tuning into what feels right and being guided by it. However, if you are a Virgo or a Capricorn, you can benefit from the sextile, which is rather nice too. So that's anything from 6 to 12 degrees. Now, in terms of the event chart, solar, let's just look at that first of all. The Sun and the Moon in House 8. House 8, very, very much about intimacy. Can be to do with those deep transformations. It's where we feel things. The Moon in the 8th house can be a little anxious, to be honest. If we know or sense that change is coming, but we don't quite understand why, that could be part of the equation. But also we may feel the electricity of Mercury's opposition to Uranus. So if finances are part of what we're trying to grapple with, particularly with that incredibly strident full moon in Taurus coming at the heart of November, with Uranus, the disruptor, influencing that and the following week in an incredibly important way, I think for us all, we are going to be watching the financial markets in terms of interest rates and the fallout for whoever wins the presidential election in a very, very watchful manner. Of course, the sign of Scorpio can be about revelations. It can be about things that have been kept quiet or hidden that suddenly come into the open. But you can see the North Node there that I mentioned before in House 1 from the solar perspective, linking back. So that's really encouraging us to be very individual. It's hard to be very individual if we need to collaborate. And the recent energy in the sign of Libra, particularly the solar eclipse, was very much about the conversation. It was about trying to find those points of interest. But the Scorpio energy gets beneath the surface and wants to tease out the true meaning. And as I mentioned, with the Mars energy of this event applying to the moon, maybe there could be something that is forced into the open, and it could be quite uncomfortable for certain people. Now I'm going to share with you now the event chart from a natal perspective. Now this is based on Greenwich, not because I live in the United Kingdom, but simply because of the prime meridian. It's also based on universal time. And the really intriguing thing is the combination of the moon and of the sun in the 9th house. Because the 9th house is where things are released into the open. It can be about freedom, it can be about higher truths, it can be about philosophy, but it can be about contracts and the law. That's intriguing. Now we know that Scorpio can be about those longer term finances, but it can also be about things like taxation, inheritances, legacies, insurance policies. So we're really being encouraged by the freshness of the new moon to make sure that all the provisions we can put in place to protect ourselves are intact. So we need to be thinking about those proverbial celestial rainy days. Very, very important. But I mentioned to you about the Grand Water Trine. So let's take that first of all. And let's start with the traditional ruler of the sign of Scorpio, Mars. So Mars is in Cancer. It's on the anaretic degree. Mars, not particularly happy in Cancer. It's a bit grumpy, a bit moody, a bit defensive and prickly. On the 7th house, that's really asserting its boundary. Pluto, on the other hand, is opposite it, the other co-regent of the sign of Scorpio, so we have that opposition. That creates a lot of tension, and it can give people enormous willpower. So if you've got a business idea that you want to take forwards with, and you're really focused and you've got a clear plan, then that is great. But it's also important to understand that power can be used in a very leveraged, unfair, cruel, or even treacherous way, Pluto and Mars, and they're feeding into that position of Mercury. So Mars to Mercury is the first trine, and then we have Mercury back to Neptune. So that's the grand water trine. So we could say that Mars in the 7th house is not its greatest location, because it can almost be too feisty, particularly in Cancer, because it can be so defensive. But I feel that if we can use our ideas and passion and imagination and the things that inspire us in a very motivated way, we can turn that grand trine to our advantage. But the next complex layer of this event is the mystic rectangle. Take a look at Mercury. It's right at the top of the chart, and it's applying to Pluto in a sextile. But look at Pluto's relationship with Uranus, trine. So the first relationship, 60 degrees, the second relationship, 120. Look at the relationship between Uranus and Mars, sextile. Then look at the relationship between Mars and Mercury, trine. So we have sextile, trine, trine. That is a mystic rectangle, because those 4 points, so we have 2 oppositions, but they're all in some ways interacting with each other in a very dynamic, potentially very exciting way. Now in astrology, whichever player is closest to an angle tends to have the most dominant impact on any particular event. So we've got 2 here. The first is the path of fortune on the ascendant in Capricorn. Let's just park that for a minute, because I feel Uranus right down at the bottom of the chart at 2552, the 4th house cusp, is where we need to rest, recuperate, be much more conscious of the emotional principle. So therefore the lunar principle of peace, tranquility, safety and security, which is what we all crave with the energy of the moon. And Uranus suggests there is going to be some disruption, and it could be around finance, but not necessarily in a bad way. For example, the outcome of the presidential election may see interest rates drop, markets could surge, extra confidence could come in, but also the converse could be true. It just depends on perhaps how you see things personally, what your worldview is. And remember, with the sun and the moon in the 9th house, that's very much about higher ideas. There's going to be a huge amount of discussion over the next month, and we know that some of it will be very polarized. But the US election is only part of what's going on in the world. There's so many tension points. This chart doesn't look particularly pleasant. I'm not being fearful, I don't believe in that, but it does suggest that those rubbing polarities where people see things in such a challenging and different way can cause some explosive outcomes. Now, I just want to share with you about each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces, and I'm going to give you a flavour of these based on the ascendant, sun or the moon. But remember that forecast is for the next month. But essentially, look forward to quite an intense time. I think we all need to don our astral hard hats. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. So Aries, if you work for someone where you don't feel particularly appreciated, particularly in terms of your remuneration, you could find yourself with Pluto right at the top of your chart, wanting to assert your rights around this. And you could do it in a humorous way, for sure. You could use a touch of frivolity in order to sweeten your message. But if you try too hard somehow, it could actually be a little bit counterproductive. So use the stealth that can be part of Scorpio's magic to try to understand the points of difference that you offer in what you provide, but also think psychologically about what the other person wants for you. So whether it is about trying to negotiate something for a current employer or someone you're looking to work for, or you're looking to go into your own business, however much you feel really highly charged about making some changes that benefit you, you may have to try and control your ardor about what doesn't feel particularly fair and just. So I think that's the key really, is there is an opportunity here for a reset, but it's all about your tactics. If you go about something in a canny way, you could get a better result than you think. Now, in terms of romance, we know that Scorpionic energy can be quite hot. If you're feeling someone you're seeing isn't quite as invested as much as you, this could be an interesting time, because that might not be what you're craving. But also, if you're getting some of your needs met in terms of companionship, going out, going for meals, going to watch movies, but it's not quite cooking in the way that you want, just try to equate what it might be like if you'd rather have that level of connection rather than nothing at all. But if you're one of those people that's very determined to keep it completely clean, it's either all in or all out, you might decide to call something to or pull something to a close. If romance isn't remotely on your mind, but you are wanting to improve your lot in terms of your personal finances, you could find yourself being more speculative. And with Uranus in the mix, that's suggesting that maybe doing something that is very different and perhaps a bit more unique could really call out to you in a potent way. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. So Taurus, for you, your relationship sector is activated by this new moon. New moons is when we think about what we'd like and then set our intentions to make it happen. But what's going on in your relationships at the moment? It doesn't have to be in a romantic dimension only. It can be all sorts of connections. If you have pleasant friends, good ties with relatives or neighbours, your relationship sector may not necessarily need that much work, you feel. But then maybe there are further opportunities that could come in, perhaps by an openness to different types of people. But there's an urgency about this event that's really created by Uranus in your sign. That opposition with Mercury creates more electricity. So you could find yourself feeling restless if you're in a decent tie, but it doesn't really make your pulse race. And if that's the case, the fact that Mars and Pluto are in an opposition across the axis, which is about conversation and ideas, means there's part of you that could even want to provoke some kind of reaction from your partner in order to create some drama. But then again, if you are single, there's lots about the energy around all of this event to encourage you, to be honest. It's just that if a tie isn't working, maybe what Mars and Pluto in opposition and Mercury and Uranus in opposition are telling you is that you do need to have a frank discussion in order to try to clear the air. If that doesn't work, then you may have a big decision to make. Because sometimes if we're in a relationship with someone who meets some of our needs, but we're not entirely fulfilled, we're missing out on the chance to connect to someone who could meet more of our needs. But of course, being a conscious person of security, which Taurus people often are, you may not want to give up what you've got now if it means that there would be an interlude between meeting a potential partner. So there is a degree of risk in terms of leaving something that isn't quite right. So just think about all these issues. But if you want to collaborate with someone, perhaps around a shared interest or a business, even a formal partnership, this new moon has a lot of energy around it, which is egging you on to make some changes, but also to make things happen. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Gemini, Uranus, it's been such an aggravant, you know, particularly since March 2019, even for 5 months in 2018, particularly if you're right at the start of Gemini. And the reason for that is it's in your solar house 12. That's the part of our situations that we can be a little bit reluctant to look at. Because you are a person or a sign that thrives on the exchange of ideas and information, the more spiritual and psychological sphere is what Uranus is provoking you to look at. So its opposition to your ruler on this event, that 12th, 6th house energy, could see you a bit on edge, to be honest. And it could be around money, because the 6th house, where the new moon itself occurs, is about the structure of situations. It's about how efficient things are, if they're working well or not. And if you feel, for example, that you're very sacrificing and do your bit to help and support others, but you don't really feel valued, that really could stick in your craw. And Mars opposite Pluto could see you want to be quite militant in order to speak out and say what you need from a financial perspective. But just watch out, because there could be some politics in the mix. Uranus in 12 means that suddenly something can come into the open that you're not aware is about to be revealed, and it could have quite the impact on your situation. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Cancer, the new moon for you in house 5 can be absolutely delicious, particularly with Mars in your sign, accentuating your sense of self and potentially your sense of desirability and attractiveness, because the 5th house is where we want to have fun and be playful. And for sure, having Mercury there brings a slice of mischief. Uranus in 11 means that whether it's around your love life or friendships, there could be a degree of unpredictability at the moment. But if you're in a tie where there are some tensions, particularly around how much space you get to do what you want for you, it could be that your partner is the one who can be more rebellious about pushing back about the time you spend indulging your hobbies, interests or desires. However, if you're footloose and fancy free, the next month can be a great chance to get into a more social vibe, enjoy interacting with people and see where it takes you. Your attractiveness could be causing quite a lot of heads to turn. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Leo, the new moon for you is asking some questions about where you live, who you live with, how. Could be about your own internal emotional world, maybe about family life history. The genealogy of your family could be of interest over the next month. If you want to redecorate, ready for guests at Christmas, there's a lot of push here to crack on and get stuck in to do it. But you can also, with Venus in house 5, very playful area, invite people around and enjoy playing mind host. But what about if your home and emotional life isn't working so well? Well, having Uranus in your 10th house, perhaps part of it is the amount of time that you're having to invest in your work, which, if you're very dependent on people providing your support structure, it's important that you do acknowledge the effort and time that they're putting in. The challenge on this event really comes from Mars for you personally, because that's in the 12th house. And Mars in the 12th house can be particularly tricky, particularly opposite Pluto in 6. There may be someone, you may know who this person is, you may know of them, but not see them in the way that I'm about to describe. It may be someone who actually, scheming would be a strong word, but there may be someone who doesn't quite see you as you would like them to see you. They may have an agenda, and that agenda could be revealed over the next month. And if it is, it could happen quickly and suddenly and rather confrontationally, but not necessarily in an outright feisty way. They won't necessarily tell you how they feel. It could be through a third party. You may hear that someone's been gossiping or let something slip that you shared in private. So there is some complexity there with Mars in the 12th house. It really points towards an old issue if it's still festering away, could come out over the next 4 weeks. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Virgo, as I mentioned before, your sign can benefit from this event. We have a 60 degrees sextile. And for you, the new moon occurs in your third house, which is about chatty interactions, quick and move-in situations, short journeys, interactions with neighbours, siblings, your local community online. A lot of buzz around those. Uranus and Mercury, your ruler, in an opposition, even more buzz, perhaps even more stimulation. You may be in the mood to get out and about, do something different. Mars in your 11th house, emphasising your connection to groups and interests and friendships, networks in a positive way. All good, hey? But what about Mars and Pluto? Well, if you and someone you're involved with have different interests or different friendship groups, it may be that that's part of what you need to discuss. But if one of you wants to kind of dominate the final decision, that politics could be something that causes quite a lot of tension and stress. So if you're in a situation where you don't feel that you can quite manifest your enthusiasm, your joy in a free-spirited and open way, that's what's going to be flagged up over the next 4 weeks. But if you are able to be free-spirited, you may find yourself engaging with a new app, connecting with someone online, sharing some skills or talents you've got, or learning some new ones yourself. It's going to be bright and it's going to be buzzy. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Libra, the new moon in your second house is about how we feel about our self-worth, our value, also everyday money. Second house. If you have been finding in recent months that things have been a little bit uphill in terms of balance in the books, this is an opportunity to try to find newer and fresher ways in order to improve things furthermore. Because Uranus in house 8, the opposite of the second house, is those longer term finances. So it's all about using that part of you that likes to digest ideas, think about things, take soundings, get different viewpoints. But if you're engaging with fresher approaches, that's all to the good. It's just that Mars is in a very dominating part of your chart, and around the decision to actually spend money, if you are in a partnership, you may really feel quite passionately about doing it your way, and that in itself could cause some issues, even within the family, to be honest. So if you have a difference of a value around, could be the political equation at the moment or anything else, it could be flagged up in the tension with people that you're usually close to, because you could be quite surprisingly firm in terms of asserting your point of view. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. The new moon in your sign is a great opportunity to bring into the present the individual ideas that you've been thinking about recently, perhaps that were on the back burner, or you were doing lots of deep soundings and research as we had all that Libra energy. Now you can really start to trigger it all forwards in a very exciting and fast moving way. But what about your two rulers in conflict? Well, they go across the part of your chart that's to do with potentially journeying. If you are going to be journeying anywhere, don't rush it. If you are very impatient to get to a particular destination with your plan, if you do try to force the proverbial pace rather than the actual pace of a journey, that actually could be counterproductive as well. Because Mercury's in your sign, your idea sector is sparkling, but that opposition to Uranus suggests that other people's viewpoints can dart in quickly and dynamically, but also perhaps in an unsettling way. So however much you're trying to concentrate on what you want to do for you, you still need to have a dialogue with people to bring them with you. If you're open to that, all's to the good. If you're not and just want to move forwards quickly, you could find that other people, for whatever reason, seem to block and inhibit and want to slow you down, which could prove to be hugely frustrating. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Sagittarius, the new moon for you is in house 12. I'll be honest with you, 12th house new moons are not the easiest, because 12th house is the part of life that most of us are a bit reluctant to look at. The things we fear, the things that are to do with past hurt and pain, can be to do with unresolved emotion, can be to do with separations, illness, detachment, isolation. It's a complex area, the 12th house. Also, we can sometimes discover who isn't for us, but not necessarily because they tell us. We just really realise the vibes have changed, they've gone. But with Mars and Pluto going across your 2nd house and 8th house cusp, there's something about money in this equation, or what you're attached to. But you need to understand the emotional roots of any material attachment over the next 4 weeks. If you can do that, you'll release yourself to work on any inner stuff in a very productive way. And if that means becoming more conscious of your vulnerabilities, letting go of things that no longer serve your greater good and purpose, including some relationships, good for you. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Capricorn, the new moon occurs for you in the 11th house, which can be about friendships, networks, long-term plan, higher values, good fortune, sociability, supporting of particular sporting events or good causes, all that good stuff. So you could be in for a sociable time. But Mars being on the 7th house also suggests that if there's someone in your circle that you're really attracted to, you could have the extra confidence, particularly if you are a more traditional Capricorn who tends to be quite reserved, quite protective about taking a step outside what you feel really comfortable with. This particular chart event can give you a lot of get-go, and people can be surprised by how daring you might be. But remember, the 11th house is also about a long-term plan. If your long-term plan isn't coming together quite as quickly as you would like, you can put your foot to the proverbial floor. Try to make it happen. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Aquarius, this event for you occurs in the 10th house. Interesting. The moon in Scorpio is not at its best, as we know. Put it in the 10th house. It means all your stuff about your connection to the world is closer to the surface. So that could create some vulnerability. Mars is in house 6, which is linked to the 10th house in a different kind of way, because the 6th house is where we actually go through the actual processes within our worldly role. So that could be the actual role. The 10th house is how we connect to people or raise our personal profile, or how other people see us. So the two are collaborating well in terms of the signs, but if there's something lurking in the background that isn't quite working for you, maybe there is some office politics, for example, just be aware that you need to come across in and convey a very confident but also self-assured stance, but be prepared for any of those little niggles or observations or bitching, to use a really frank word. But if you want to start your own business, apply for a new job, do a presentation, this new moon is asking you to believe in yourself and go for it in terms of raising your profile. But if there's part of you that does lack a little bit of self-confidence, use the energy of Mars to remind yourself of the efficiencies and the skills that you've developed over a long period of time. Don't let the electric energy of your modern ruler Uranus stop you from going for it and demonstrating just how talented you truly are. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. Get the rest of this year free. Your life roadmap report too, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. This new moon occurs in house 9 for you. And as I mentioned in the introduction, for Pisces as well as Cancer people, the water triplicity enables you to live out your inspirations. And because the ninth house can be about breaking things down and doing something more daring and radical and being more adventurous, if you are someone who's been really penned in by the Saturnian energy in your sign since March 2023, this is an event that's urging you to not be inhibited anymore, to give yourself permission to be wild would be a strong word, but certainly on the front foot. So if it's booking that holiday you've long wanted to go for, that's to perhaps a different, more historical location, if it is about learning that foreign language or applying for a course, if you've never had the opportunity for higher education when you were younger, thinking about a correspondence course or actually going residentially to a college that will give you the extra skills and experience and qualification to climb the ladder of success. But you're likely to feel quite restless. There's a lot of excitement around this event for you personally. I actually think this can be a very exciting 4 weeks for you, Pisces. You've got Mercury in your ninth house, which, has its challenges, but there's something you're going to reveal that excites someone. But Uranus in the third suggests don't sit on your hands, and Pluto and Mars in opposition suggests that people can just find you quite exciting to be around, whether it's friends, socially, at work. You demonstrate a little bit of daring do, and why not? Go for it and see where it takes you. It's been a real pleasure being with you for this Scorpio New Moon special. Please check out your year 2025 deep dive video beneath this video, and do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. Get the rest of this year free. Also 30% off on your life roadmap report. See the link below.